Quand on est joueur professionnel de CSGO, ou même quand on est surtout comme moi, capitaine et leader in-game, CSGO ça prend 95% de notre vie. CSGO, on y pense toutes les heures, peut-être pas toutes les minutes, mais c'est très rare que je pense pas à CS 15 minutes de suite, quoi.
A lot of people probably think that Counter-Strike is like only a thing for us when we sit down at the computer and we play and everything, but a lot of the times also like whenever you come up with a new idea, most of the time that happens outside of the game. When you're like going for a walk or watching something on the television, like you're like, there's something here I need to write down, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of hours throughout the day that I'm spending on Counter-Strike, that's for sure, especially coming into the major.
Ouais, ça prend une place de dingue, quoi. Il y a des moments où je sais que avant de dormir, des fois je galère de ouf parce que je pense qu'à ça en fait. Et même si j'essaye d'aller, je dis allez, on arrête, il faut que je dorme. Et des fois je regarde l'heure et il y a 1 heure qui est passée. Et je pense à plein de choses. On se dit pas que CS c'est si compliqué, mais si des fois je me dis putain on devrait faire ça quand on fait ça. Ça prend énormément de place. C'est notre life en fait. Être pro gamer c'est notre life. Et il y a peu de place pour le reste, ça c'est sûr.
It's Eco, I don't know.
I think the
Boosted.
Yeah,
Go under, 2 outside. Just run side.
One more
behind, one more behind.
That's
Happens as well.
Nail door. This one flashing.
Ce premier major forcément représente beaucoup pour nous, c'est un peu une étape charnière dans la construction de cet effectif. On sait qu'il arrive relativement tôt, même si les gens pourront se dire que le mois de mai c'est ok, il y a quand même quelques mois de boulot derrière, mais c'est quand même un effectif qui se reconstruit quand même sur des bases aussi internationales maintenant.
When we really didn't play well in Pro League, there was only like a month coming into the major, and things were really looking shaky, like both as a team but also as individuals. So there was a lot of things that had to be like taken care of. We went to Stade de France to have this boot camp, and we wanted to prove to each other, but also to everyone around us, that this was not good enough. Like we can do a lot better. We came up with this thing that we had to kind of scratch everything that we had done. Like we had to like kind of start over. So we tried to really narrow things down and put things to become as simple as possible to make sure that we had the basics. Once we got that rolling, then we could start, you know, adding more tactics and making more advanced stuff and adding things on the fly, which Dan likes to call and everything. So far I've had so many challenges in my career, and I guess this one is also one of the biggest one, and there's a lot on stake for me, also on a personal level. I mean, if we would end up winning this tournament, I would be the first player to ever win 5 majors. That would be kind of special in many ways, you know. But also being the first team in the world to win the majors in its national roster, that's also very special.
Non? Menu peut-être? Ah, menu. Never smoked. One, two, three!
A lot of people have said, yeah, oh, ZywOo is not the same as he used to be. People say this every year, actually, and last year he ended up second.
JT's entry, shut down.
Okay.
Masuda, couple of kills.
Wow.
Now, a Vitality with a Masuda hold, that's a stronger Vitality. That's the best form of Vitality. Flash goes in.
Oh, he's not using it.
Perfect. Okay. Junior would have had a shot at that, but instead it's Apex just locking in this B hold. Grim on 50 health, his third victim, 1 magazine, 3 kills. Grim and Floppy ready to posture from the apartments, and they just get shredded. Magisk and Dupree. Vitality's players, just everybody so sharp. Dupree 15-4, Masuda 11-4, Magisk 15-6, and those 3 right there. Whew. Oh, and then of course, JT's melon gets popped through Floppy. Fight towards top mid gets a little awkward. ZywOo last man standing. How
If he
poetic.
dies, it'll be the first time he dies this match, this major.
Grim's looking for him. Can't
No, he
find
can't
him.
die.
11
He can't
and
die.
0. As much as it hurts to say, NA, this one's all she wrote.
We'll give it our best go of it here. Okay,
Done.
he goes down. ZywOo has not died at the major.
Protect the VIP, guys.
Protect the VIP, tu.
Hey, manger 5 fruits et légumes par jour. 5 fruits et légumes par jour. C'est très important pour un gamer. À bientôt.
Playing as Rallis is weird, especially we have a really big history with them, you know, and it's not for me it's not only colleagues, you know, that I played with, but it's also friends, and it's friends that I have achieved something with that I don't think, it's kind of hard to say, but I don't think that a lot of teams is gonna be able to replicate that. I think it's something very special that we managed to create, and we defined a lot of how Counter-Strike is supposed to be played, at least back then. So I mean, it's very special playing in Sim, and I really like the guys.
Just think yes, don't think the opponent. Yeah. And I know it has to be special. 4 years with the same team, it's normal, yes. Yeah, but we will be here to support, and we need to. It's really important in that kind of games to put the good mood. If we have the good mood, it's gonna be really good. Yes. I'm pretty sure.
I remember, of
We will talk
course,
strategical.
this is a major. No game is never important, but it is in that sense a free game. It doesn't matter if you're 2-0 or 1-1, or if you're close to qualifying.
We good. We just quit.
It doesn't matter if we lose or win.
But we're gonna beat them. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Let's go.
Good mood. And the French, please carry it. What?
Guys, whenever we arrive, I want to score tactical side, because we haven't talked about it.
Oh, what the fuck? I look so sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like all the procedure.
You know that. You won more major than anyone else here. It's whole year. It's all fucking year. So let's fucking go, man. Okay?
Yes.
Let's fuck them. Let's fuck these dates. Let's fuck these dates. Sorry guys, okay?
I can go with that.
1, 2, 3!
Let's fuck those days, boys!
It's up to Apex trying to be that predator into the site, and he's got nothing done. Absolutely zilch. It's Masuta again with impact. Vitality can count on him. 9 so far in this series, but he's made a round out of this one. And uncontested, 1 short. Disconnected from the pack, but Config still contributing. And Zipex too, all the way from jungle, long range for this retake. And it's just ZywOo. Oh, just looked away, and on the drop, the inaccuracy. He gets one, he gets them both. Vitality secure the 8th. 4 bodies committing out of the apartments. It's Masuta with dupreeh on the box though, and already Magisk has done some damage, long range, pre-arrival. Farley's back is turned, tagged up nicely, dupreeh with a dunk to finish, and oh, getting messy, Config's here. ZywOo will put him down after the double. Oh, ZywOo's putting everyone down. Another quick click, 2 bullets is all he's used. And that's 3! 3 bullets, 3 frags. Oh, spotted out, knows it's Bench, knows it's Farley in the app. They've worked it out. Good shots out of Apex, and he nearly gets the second astray from Glaive. He's alive and kicking, and now Glaive to come up clutch in the one-on-one. He's done well so far, called a good game, but ZywOo's got another one. And Farley caught out a timing from Magisk, and there you have it, 16-8. This blend of Dane and French royalty has taken Counter-Strike by storm. And
But sure now, I mean, I also have to accept and realize that we are also kind of enemies now. You know, we are fighting each other to become the best team in the world again. And that is definitely special, and playing them here at the Major was also very special. And I think the first thing of everything with Astralis will always be different and always be weird. The first match, the first time you see them after you break up, the first time you do blah blah blah, you know, it's always gonna be weird. But so far we've come out ahead, and on the first game, and that's what mattered the most to me. Actually, we wanted to prove that we made the right decision, and at the same time, they probably wanted to prove that we made the wrong decision. So I think that was probably what was on the line, and I'm happy that we managed to win, but that's just how it is.
Crazy.
It's one more game, right? To go through the ladder. Yeah, one more. We are in a good position. One more match, one more game.
I also have a picture of my I know.
You know, I've won the major 3 times, and it's obviously something I'm very proud and very happy about, but for me it's also about starting a new chapter of my career and, you know, moving on from the past and, like, you know, trying to achieve something new with a new team, and that's what I want with this team. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that we're gonna win the major, because I still think we're a young team and a team that needs more experience together, but I also know that if everyone is performing at the highest level and everything is clicking and the communication is good and, you know, we are in a good flow, I also believe that there is a possibility that it can happen.
Good mood. 1 round at a time. Okay, boys, do it.
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
This round, Forza can try and throw themselves into this one, but nice grouping from Vitality. They just pummel the doorway. Zorti out of CT Spawn as well. Magisk is on a tear.
Right now they're hoping that Magisk can be their saving grace. Oh, Zorti's gonna check for him! They thought he could be the angel. ZywOo, tap on the bomb, 10 seconds and he's spammed out.
I think the biggest fear in general when you play on the biggest stages is always gonna be, you know, getting into a bubble where you're kinda in your own world and you're not like listening to information, and you are maybe listening to it but you don't understand it and you're not reacting to it, and that's probably, you know, what people call not feeling the game. I mean, that's where you don't feel the game, like you kind of go into your own zone, and that's the only thing as a pro player you don't want to.
Oh, you're gonna try and take lobby, are you? Well, Kenzie's been here the whole damn time. It's all on Apex, nothing he can do. For's gonna steal Nuke away.
I always try to remind myself of, you know, obviously that even though I have a bad game, I mean, I still have the chance the next round to do impact. In the end, it's a team game, and yes, everyone wants to perform good individually, but in some situations you just have to don't give a fuck about yourself and just doing what it requires to win the round or win the you know, the map and stuff like that. Keep going, keep fighting, reset every round. Doesn't matter, we make mistakes, it will happen. We did yesterday as well, but we still managed to reset and come back and focus on the next round.
ZywOo waiting. They can run boost, but he hits these. We know he hits these.
Actually, I say that, he's running right in. He wants to take the fight on, it's clean.
They're not going to read it. They might completely leave it discounted. Apex drops the bomb, and 2. They've got to go back for him, but he might be on for the round. 3 frags out of Apex. The in-game leader leads Vitality 2-8.
With the swing, he's coming up by the barrel, but there's the reveal, and ZywOo's going to close the 1v1. Only Apex, 20 seconds. Time is not his ally here. The one thing he's got going for him is this 1v1 is available, and he's going to get it. Now just Northy left to beat. A long wrap, and there's Apex with the clutch, a double up from the captain of Vitality. Magisk playing for the round win. If all else somehow goes awry, he's going to be there to be the man stealing it away. It's never needed, not with ZywOo lining them up in the tunnels, and everyone else is locked out. They might try run him down, but Jerry's left running for the hills as Vitality take us the distance. In this series, we're going to Mirage.
This is exactly what we wanted.
It doesn't matter if you're lost 10 rounds in a row, you can still go and win the next 5 or win the next 16 rounds. I mean,
I just want us to be less scared, okay?
Yes. Also,
fuck them.
Yeah.
Run on the face.
Remember, I played shit last game as well. But don't forget, we can always do it. It's okay to have a bad game.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter. In the end, we're fighting together, all good. We can always make impact. Let's help each other. Let's sacrifice each other. Yeah. If we're having a bad game.
1, 2, 3!
Come to man! Gotta do it alone again. Jerry gets picked pushing Palace. Northy's been warped out of the round. Xiaofi's here in time, but he can't swing wide because ZywOo had him from short. So had to take onto Masuta. Does fall, and ZywOo closing.
Oh, that's clean. That's a lovely opener. There's a second man in comp. Magic sees him. They can't win that fight. Start to creep on forward, looking for this orb. A missed shot out of Zorti, and now dupree's got him boxed in, trapped in a corner. On the short side, now spots him. The spray connects, and dupreeh wins it. The 1v2 goes the way of this guy, as dupreeh carries them through to another. DOFCON, they're moving over the stairs, but are they ready for ZywOo? Was quiet in the last 8-8. This time he's roaring to life with a third. Apex is in position over at the bench. They don't know about him. He's a nasty surprise. Apex trying to land the spray transfer, getting out the short side. Oh, it's a 1v2 now. Norvi, we've said his name so much here on Mirage. He's given us so much, but he's got to do even more in this clutch. Spammed out. ZywOo's there to close, and Vitality, they're going to the legend stage.
So
nice.
A rough day at the fucking office, huh?
Comment tu fais pour avoir ce mindset où tu te dis on peut toujours, tu te remets toujours au travail, t'abandonnes pas en fait?
Je pense que ce mindset il est un peu aussi dans l'ADN. Je pense que c'est pas quelque chose qu'on peut avoir du jour au lendemain. Après c'est mon opinion, mais je pense que ça vient aussi de ma mère un peu. Je pense qu'elle est comme ça. Je pense que ma mère c'est une personne qui est très travailleuse et qui se donne à fond dans ce qu'elle fait. Et moi, au final, automatiquement, plus jeune, je faisais du foot. Et ça a été la même chose. Je faisais du foot tous les jours. Genre, il n'y a jamais un moment où je ne vais pas faire de foot. Après, j'ai commencé CS, donc le foot est parti un peu sur le côté. Puis je me rappelle, une année, j'ai eu des problèmes de connexion Internet. Et je me suis mis au billard. J'adore le billard. Et pareil, le billard, j'avais 14 ans, mais je me donnais tous les jours. Et au final, je dépassais pas mal de mecs au niveau parce que je me bute, quoi. Et maintenant, avec l'expérience, c'est juste que... En fait, il y a plusieurs raisons. Je suis un compétiteur, j'adore la compétition, j'adore ce que je vis, en fait. J'adore... C'est vrai que ma vie, sans ça, elle serait... Enfin, une vie monotone, c'est pas quelque chose qui m'intéresse. Une vie où il n'y a pas de défi, il n'y a pas de... Voilà, là, je suis constamment en défi. Constamment, je me lève et j'ai un vrai objectif. Et ça me drive. Ça drive ma life. Et c'est super important pour moi. Et je pense que c'est ça. Après... Ce que je dis, j'essaie de faire comprendre aux gens, c'est que c'est pas facile. Tous les jours, tu t'entraînes, tous les jours. Ça fait 15 ans que je fais ça. 15 ans que je praque, 15 ans que tout ça. Mais ce que je dis, c'est que c'est pas simple. Les burn-out, c'est réel, c'est très fatigant. Mais je me plaindrai jamais. Moi, mon rêve, c'était surtout de pouvoir vivre de ça, en fait, de ma passion. Parce que vivre de sa passion, voilà, travailler. C'est pas travailler, enfin, tu travailles, mais tu fais ta passion, donc... Mais mon rêve, c'était d'en vivre. Je ne te demandais pas de gagner autant d'argent de base, c'est d'en vivre. Juste de pouvoir payer tes factures et pouvoir vivre. Finalement, ça a bien dépassé tout ça. Mais il est vrai que ouais, je peux pas me plaindre. Et je kiffe ce que je fais et je le ferai jusqu'à ce que je sente que je suis un boulet. Je pense réellement, et bon, les Danois le savent encore mieux que moi, pour moi le Major ça joue dans la tête. Eux ils m'ont dit un truc qui est vrai, enfin qui est vrai, j'en sais rien mais ce qu'ils m'ont dit c'est que c'est vrai. Ils m'ont dit qu'à chaque Major ils s'attendaient pas à gagner le Major. Ils ne sont jamais dit on va gagner le Major. Hein. Ils ont dit que on va tout donner pour gagner le Major, on a un niveau pour gagner le Major. Mais on va pas gagner le Major. C'est juste à se dire prendre une game par une map par une map, round par round, pas se poser trop de questions du futur. On peut être en 1-2, on peut être en 2-2, on peut être en 0-2. Ça veut rien dire, ça veut pas dire que t'es 3-0 que tu passeras l'écart. C'est un reset à chaque fois. C'est pour ça que j'ai kiffé, on a kiffé passer les gens de 3-0. Mais je pense que le lendemain, moi, je m'en battais déjà les couilles. C'est fini quoi. Parce qu'il faut passer là maintenant les gens de Sedge. du Challenger Stage. C'est les gens de chat qui comptent.
Kom nu! Okay? Fuld fokus. Ready, boys? Yeah. 1, 2, 3!
Kom nu, drenge! Kom nu!
Ta gueule! Ta gueule! Rez, oh, he gets killed by ZywOo, gives good cover. Then that short play, sure enough, comes through, and ZywOo wins the op duel, turns it into the clutch.
God.
They'll let you have 5, but enough is enough.
Exactly. Oh man, this actually might be a hard save. They've got one inside the bathrooms. And, yeah, Destag smartly is coming back to the site, but there's actually 2 players here ready to attack him. Could he do it? Yeah, he's staying alive, and he's knocking out 5.
Nice shots!
Wow, 5-10.
Now, they're still fighting for this. I was thinking we could just talk through Vitality winning a round, but now Brolin's jumping down into the water, drop kicks Apex, and the young Swede has himself in the clutch. ZywOo's scout. Ooh, now all that's left is Brolin's gonna keep this one clean. Way too clean.
The only round we did well is when we fake and go back to the peak. Mirage. Mirage time à tout.
Je pense que les 3 dernières années, on a été la 3e meilleure équipe du monde 3 fois de suite sur HLTV. Et là, j'ai vraiment, j'ai 2 mecs qui ont gagné plus de tournois que moi, j'ai un coach qui a gagné plus de tournois que moi. Donc ouais, totalement, j'ai entre les mains quelque chose qui peut être très grand, mais c'est un énorme défi. C'est un énorme défi puisque c'est la première fois que j'ai une équipe internationale, que je lead une équipe internationale, une équipe dans laquelle je joue aussi. Il y a beaucoup de points d'interrogation autour de ça par rapport à... c'est tous notre première équipe internationale et il est vrai que quand on regarde des équipes comme G2 ou FaZe, eux, c'est le cas depuis quelques années déjà. Donc ils ont beaucoup plus d'automatisme, les problèmes qu'on a connus, ils les ont déjà eu avant. Enfin, il y a plein de choses qui sont vraiment dures et il est vrai que si j'arrive pas à gagner avec cette line-up, bah, je pense que ce sera un échec. Ce sera un échec. Mais c'est un énorme défi, c'est sûr. C'est clair.
Versus Flit, low on health, but he spammed out! Flit was not meant to win that one, and he does! Never even sees him, but it was never a...
Non, ton sac, tu as mis dans le sac. T'as une tablette. Hein.
Ouais, un truc bleu.
Ouais, c'était lui, c'était le bon sac.
It's tough, but it's not over. And you guys did it last year. And we can also do it. Step by step, we build the momentum, we build the confidence again, and then we go.
The only thing we can do for now is just forget about today and then take us 3 best of 3s. At least it's a best of 3 and not best of 1 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we have to lose a best of 3 before going out, and we have. If you just don't even think about going 1-2 or 2-2 or whoever we potentially could end up facing, because we need to get there first. The first job tomorrow.
It is up here. Yeah. And today we were not ready. It's also about hitting the day, and we didn't do that, and that's unfortunate. You have to hit these days, but we still have a good chance.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough, yeah. And we might not go through, but we have to be able to look ourselves in the eyes after that and say, okay,
it's more
we did everything we could.
Exactly. It is what it is, boys.
Let's be good for each other. Be there for each other. Of course. Practice. È bella, bella.
C'est quelque chose qui te... Tu cogites dessus des fois ou tu sais pas y penser?
Si, j'y pense un peu. Il y a des moments où j'y pense où, là par exemple, le début d'année qui était un peu catastrophique, je me disais putain, mais. Des fois, après, il manque pas grand chose, des fois dans CS, mais il est vrai que là, juste si on regarde juste les résultats, ils sont pas terribles. Bien sûr que je cogite, bien sûr que ça met une pression supplémentaire, c'est clair. Mais bon, c'est ce que j'aime aussi, hein. Je suis là pour être... mon but en jouant CS, c'est d'être le meilleur. Donc automatiquement, c'est pas une question... Enfin, la pression de ça, c'est normal. Si je voulais pas avoir de pression, je ferais un autre métier. Mais après, tu essayes d'avoir confiance en toi, tu essayes aussi que le groupe autour ait confiance en toi. Et c'est ça que je recherche, moi, en tant que capitaine. Je ne demanderai jamais à mes joueurs de me faire confiance, mais je ferai en sorte de leur prouver qu'ils me fassent confiance et que je ressente ou qu'ils me le disent, mais sans leur demander, juste en leur prouvant des choses. Et là, bien sûr que ta confiance, elle augmente, puisque tes coéquipiers te font confiance à 100% sur ce que tu colles, etc. Donc, à ce moment-là, t'es bien.
One, two, three, behind it! Behind! Come on, man! Come on, drenge!
This is different.
I've seen this once or twice, but wow, it's it's just reaping rewards. That's just beautiful.
Molotov on Dupree, not going to be problematic. Magisk, great round from Magisk.
Almost a straight 5 from Magisk right there.
Couple Tech9s cross. He gets the scout player. Oh my God, it's a slaughter.
Jesus.
Oh, it is hard to watch.
It's quick. They've completely avoided him.
And it looks like that heartbeat has come to an end. Liquid fall on Mirage. Vitality pick this map.
He's about to finish off the frag. Alige, he's on a tear.
He's on
Flash
close.
goes high. He wins that. Masuda now 1v2.
Molotov over towards the bomb. There's no kid on this play. AK lands for Masuda. And he gets that last headshot. Keeps Vitality going.
And his gun is sticking all the way
Big
out.
time. Shox is going to round that corner, ready for it. Magisk still with 1 and 2. And with a couple other players, Magisk lights him up. 4 kills. Magisk able to deliver 2 kills. And now possibly even more.
Oh,
OC.
still alive.
Yeah, he gets wrecked. Shots
No
connect.
way.
Oh, Magisk the ace.
Shot comes in from Zywoo. Are we at the final steps?
Oh, it feels like it, man. Zywoo with another one. Liquid about to evaporate here in Antwerp. This unlikely situation going. It's an end. Whew. And Vitality live on. They defeat Shox in their first meeting.
It was good. I started out with an ace afterwards. Yeah. So much confidence going after that 4K. Whew.
Jeg stod bagved og varmte mig. Vi får lige en, der hopper eller sådan noget.
Nej, men jeg får ham ikke.
And Shox told me like you were lucky when you do 4 kills because he saw your gun silencer. He saw your silencer, so everyone know you were.
We played that shit so bad. Imagine if you could find a way to block the entrance so that
Back on the right.
Down.
On the right.
Okay.
Je fais quoi à la fab?
À quelle heure le serveur?
Est-ce qu'on ouvre des stickers?
Bien sûr qu'on a des stickers.
Ouais, j'ai plus de capsules.
T'as pas internet?
Ah, c'est vrai, en plus on a pas internet. Ah ouais. C'est pas ouf ça. C'est vraiment pas ouf.
No stickers.
One second. I mean, yes, it's okay. B.
Eh, comme ça le pêche. Ah non, c'est là. Comme ça, il s'entraînait le pêche.
Ben, please take your pills.
Are you ready?
2.
You were not born as well, you were eating your crotte de nez, bâtard.
What the fuck, then?
En fait, je pense réellement que ce genre de compétition, elle se joue plus dans la tête qu'elle se joue dans le CS.
Double! Come on! 1, 2, 3! Vitality! Attack! Come on, Tiger! You flag
Souvent, il est vrai que quand on parle de major et qu'on regarde un major, on se dit, à part les équipes qui gagnent, vraiment, le reste, on se dit, c'est pas fou. Ça joue pas si bien en CS. Parce que la pression est plus grande. Donc automatiquement, les gens jouent un peu moins bien, ça joue moins bien que d'habitude. Et la Championship Mentality, en fait, un peu, c'est juste dire que le major, il joue dans la tête. Donc faut être prêt. Faut que tu sois prêt. Il faut que tu sois prêt à tout. Faut pas que tu... Enfin, moi par exemple, genre généralement dans les majors, je suis quelqu'un d'émotionnel de ouf, de base. Mais dans les majors, je pense que c'est le moment où je me comporte le mieux.
Un bon tapage de main, un bon tapage de main, un bon tapage de main.
Parce que je sais l'enjeu, parce que je sais ce que ça peut encore plus donner à mes coéquipiers si je commence à être un peu énervé à tout ça. Et je pense que c'est le tournoi où je me prépare aussi moi le mieux en essayant d'être la meilleure personne possible.
Sure they're not getting flanked in. Magus now with a spray, but it's not only good enough for one, but maybe a second as ZywOo's still alive, stuck in the ramp. ZywOo's going to use this to his own advantage. Pushes inside and has the perfect read. They're going down, they're going out on their shield. And Faven, the meanwhile, though, is still alive, still kicking, still fragging, still cleaning up with taps in as well. And this is looking like a done deal. Surely this is unwinnable. Molly down onto window. Now gonna look for the plant, but there's the dunk downtown.
C'est marrant, juste avant là, qu'on fasse l'interview, j'écoutais une interview de Benzema là, qu'il avait fait sur RMC. Il parlait des championships qu'ils ont gagnés, parce qu'à un moment donné, ils ont gagné 3, 2016, 2017 et 2018. Et il le dit quoi, chaque match c'est une finale.
To the plate, but Magix gets flashed out. Now ZywOo with a P250, point blank range, comes out second best. Apex has it all to do alone. Trying to play the time as well. There's no kit in the hands of Crimbo, who's being slowly put down in his grave.
Des fois tu joues à un petit club. Les gens, si on perd une petite équipe, ils vont se dire mais c'est quoi, qu'est-ce qui se passe, comment ils peuvent perdre ces gars-là? On se rend pas compte à quel point ça peut être dur sur un match. Oui, si on gagne, ils vont dire c'est normal, gagner sont meilleurs. Il y a des moments, les mecs, je sais pas, ils ont la flamme de plus. Quoi. Et ouais, c'est pour ça que c'est très dur. C'est pour ça que le haut niveau est très compliqué. Et que rien peut... Un petit pourcentage, une petite chose qu'eux ne savent pas. Un mec qui a mal dormi, un mec qui se sent mal, un truc qu'on va pas communiquer parce que déjà je trouverai jamais d'excuses. Mais voilà. Mais tu peux aussi gagner avec des gens qui sont moins bien, qui a mal dormi, ça c'est toujours une question de mindset. Donc, mais essayez voilà, toujours de se dépasser un peu, quoi, de sortir de sa zone de confort encore plus que d'habitude. Et c'est plein de petites choses qui font qu'on arrive à gagner, qu'on arrive à avoir cette mentalité.
No smokes, no incendiaries for Big. If they're going to win this round, it's going to have to be raw fragging power, and Tizian may be the man to deliver. One kill and a little bit of damage done onto a second player. They line up, but ZywOo continues to twist the knife in the side of Big. And Crimbo is the last man standing. Experience compared to his compadres, but there's the first shot. Gives him a way back in, and a second, but it's the two weakened players. Time is so low, he has to get on this site right now. And there's the white swing, and there is Vitality living to fight another day.
Jesus Christ.
I'm too old for this!
Well, I told you I was invented.
What do you think I am then?
I don't know. Nice.
I don't know what happened.
I'm sorry, but they didn't deserve to win this fucking game, man. They deserve to go.
Can I have a gog?
1, 2, 3!
Vitality! And then
I need one.
I didn't do shit, man. You go hook the other guys. I was playing like a fucking...
I don't care. We are a fucking team.
7-1? 8-7? When we were 7-1 down, I didn't expect 8-7. I'm not gonna lie.
I need
Fucking Hollywood movie, man.
Je vis ça beaucoup à travers eux, à travers leur sourire, à travers leur réussite, à travers leur bonheur. Et comme je suis quelqu'un de très affectif à ce niveau-là et d'émotif en ce sens, bien sûr, s'il y a un trophée et que je vois cette joie indescriptible sur leur visage, ce qui est sûr et certain, c'est que moi, d'un seul coup, il y aura un réflexe naturel, c'est de me mettre en retrait et de me dire j'y suis peut-être un peu pour quelque chose. Et là, c'est là la satisfaction qui sera à 100%. Ce ne sera pas pour juste le fait d'avoir gagné et d'avoir les félicitations qui sont forcément agréables, bien entendu. Mais oui, je vis surtout pour leur réussite. Voilà, la mienne m'importe peu.
Sometimes he's like this.
Vitality, your first ban. Pick overpass. Vitality CT. And then heroic ban.
A little bit of surprise.
Ban nuke.
So they can get the Inferno, which we have prepared all night long. Since 2 a.m.
Fine, we predicted Imperial to win.
It's gonna come as a surprise, but BV2 new, because we've been preparing Inferno all night long. And look at me again. Fuck. That was fun.
Exactement. Le Apex, il se dit qu'est-ce qui se passe? Pourquoi j'ai écrit autant pour rien? Mais là, moi j'ai écrit pour quelque chose. Compère de Koga, j'ai écrit pour quelque chose. Alors, les Gunround. On va faire les mêmes.
Dan?
Yes?
Can you stop acting like a child?
But let's fight until it's over. It's never over until it's over.
If we have a bad game, and that's fine, let's focus on keeping our communication. Let's have some fun as well. Look, enjoy it.
Look
It's
yesterday.
a 2-2 game, that's why we play Counter-Strike.
For real. Look yesterday on Vertigo. We were 11-4 down. We tried to find solution on it. It didn't work, okay? But we stayed focused. We stayed focused on the T side. And we were 15-13 up.
Yeah.
It's all here, guys. Once again,
Yep.
highest level is all in the air.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all in the air. You guys are insane. I know that. You're fucking insane. You all four. Even Danny.
I am fucking good as well.
It's all in the air.
No, that's great.
All in the air, guys. If we're good in the air, we'll be good in the wrist and in the brain.
Yeah.
So let's fucking go.
Let's have some fun. I'm fucking excited for this.
Yeah.
I love this.
I'm
game.
stressed.
Yeah,
Of course,
but
I'm
it's-
stressed and excited as well.
Yes, of course.
It's normal.
This is why you play.
Exactly.
I mean,
I prefer sleeping today, but we have to together.
This is why you work every fucking day. At
And
10.
we play for fun, and then let's see how far it goes.
give everything, boys. Let's fucking give everything.
Let's go, boys. Let's go. Let's go, boys. What?
This is baiting him out, but now it's down. Needs to deliver, and deliver he shall with 2 kills. Looking for a third, gets it down as well, and still alive. Still clicking head, still fragging out. And the young man has picked up 4. He's on the edge of his seat, he's looking to flick the heads, but he's been denied.
That was a round right there, 7-0, but the fast break coming out towards A. Masuta with the Tech-9 able to find one, smoke's gonna bloom as well. He might get at least a bomb down over here. The push comes in, Masuta with a Tech-9.
The anger has motivated the troops into a frenzy. 2 of these 3 players are low. Their time is ticking away. Needs this frag quick, and there's Dupree. Heroic, but now the smoke is going to clear. Apex has a window of opportunity, and he'll pounce in for 2. Molotov won't fully extend. Refresh. Shot not going to work out. Meanwhile, Shush has been suppressed. Zywoo's been flashed out a couple of times, but still collects and delivers the flashbang for the peak on Staum. And this could be the moment. It's a 4-on-2, and Vitality have no idea this is coming up.
They have just got outbrained, Vince. The round's done. Stan's going to find Masuta, and it's going to be all on Zywoo, 1v4.
Vitality have struggled against Heroic constantly, suggests it's not going to happen. The first kill will go his way. Refresh down to very low HP, gets pushed in from Zywoo, but he will pay the price. I feel like we needed a real motivational speech, like from one of those movies. We'll see if it happens or if it's more of a eulogy, because simply put, now we're going to Overpass as they just broke down on the desk there, Blair. It probably doesn't bode particularly great for Vitality, but they're still in with a chance here. They're not completely done just yet. They want the monster, but they've still pushed up. And this player's running with their knives out, they have no idea. And Mages with 3 deeks shuts the round down. Shush can do little but try run in, and Mages smacks him upside the head too. S is spotted heaven, 1 short, 1 monster. Vitality, what do you do with this information? Mages has had a great game so far with the pistols, and he goes in again.
Need to try and go for the hit now. 30 seconds on the clock. 3 CVs lying in wait. The Molotov's going to delay them even further.
Pushing through the fire, pushing through the flames, and the flashbangs. Vitality have 2 entries. 20 seconds to play with now. A refresh has to go above and beyond, but instead he is dwindled by Magisk. 15 seconds. Cadian trying to push through, trying to deny the plant. Does connect the shot, but it's through the boxes. So minimal damage, as is the map. Inferno beckons. Cadian, though, keeping his team in this by the skin of their teeth. And now Sjuush is maneuvering in tandem. They sweep through the site. Bodies littered everywhere, but ZywOo's position is too good. And Vitality have picked up the second map, and they've taken it.
Nice, very nice.
That's what I talked about. Once we get into the hits, they are nothing.
No shot. Okay,
Fuck over pass. Fuck over pass. What is the map now? Ah non. Faut manger un truc? Non, quoi. Need a cigarette. Merci, chef.
It worked without that.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Let's get the qualification.
Keep fucking fighting!
Allez, let's go.
1, 2, 3!
All of the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the twists, the turns have led to this point for Heroic and for Vitality. And what better final battleground than Inferno?
It's gonna be an Inferno indeed. Inferno as a map and Inferno for game as well.
And in comes Testis. Spray is good through the coffins. The final resting place of ZywOo, but the drive-by from Magisk. He may look for some exit frags, may look to try and put the hurt and the spin onto Vitality, but Magisk again.
Out in the open, so very low. Apex finds him, then they have the A-bomb set for the taking.
Although so does no damage, and now Magisk can move back in. Damage being inflicted. Magisk needs to stand tall again. The flash hits both the oncoming players. It's down at 13. Magisk gets 1. He's looking for the second frag. This could be such a huge integral moment in this game. And with 8 bullets left and 21 HP, he whips a deagle out, but Stavn peeks him. Could be a down build up. There's a flashbang to proceed that push. Sjuush in the meanwhile, Bo goes in. Cadian gets traded out. Sjuush only has impact for 1. And now ZywOo is locking down the site with his AK-47. But there's still 2 players to find. Release angles 1 by 1. Molly's going to be good. Flashbang on top of that. Testis bypasses, pushes in by himself, leaving Magisk on 33 HP to try and clutch this one down. Spray goes around to the first player. Now they know exactly where he is. They try and line them up. Sprays down the first player. There may not be any time, and Magisk will clutch out. And it feels like Heroic are only dipping their toe in the pond. They're going to line up for ZywOo, and he sprays them back down. And here comes masuda, but a 2-for-2 trade. It looked like that should have gone way more convincingly in the favor of Vitality. They're not going to find anything unless they keep pushing. In the back right now through middle, it's the Spray shooting fish in the barrel. It's dupreeh who gets 2. Traded back. The bomb has been picked up, and there was a chance for Stavn.
Stavn, you're making a lot of noise. Flashbang's on a pop.
The flashbang is good, but the follow-up damage isn't quite there. A 3-on-2, but Heroic are low on refresh. The bomb not going to get denied this time, but the second time of asking. ZywOo threads the eye of the needle and leaving it on Tessis. 18 seconds to play with. He's trying his damnedest. The double spray comes into play, and Magisk, the weight of the entire major on his shoulders. Testis round the corner, but Magisk allows Vitality to survive. It was 14-5. Now 15-12. They've done such a good job to bring us back close, but Heroic are on the brink of success. Vitality on the brink of elimination. Magisk posted up on the side. Lots of damage through the library. Bomb gets down first. Magisk still alive, but now all the T's are firing on all cylinders. Congregating together, a conga line of death. ZywOo trying to buy up enough time for masuda to get in position with his FAMAS, but he's not able to do so. And now masuda, with everything to play for, everything weighing him down, has to try and thread this somehow, some way. He's being shot from every single angle, and Heroic live to fight another day as they book their spot in the playoffs.
In 1 month and a half, we improved a lot. We could beat them today. Shit happens. But we have 3 more tournaments until the end of the year, boys. And we'll get 1. I swear we'll get 1. If we keep playing like this and if we keep working hard, we'll get 1 of these tournaments. 100% this. So let's keep believing, let's keep working hard. I know it's tough for everyone here, but we gave our best. Everything, not everything was perfect, but we gave every fucking thing.
Yeah, we know what to work on. And
Exactly.
it was
Guys
in
been
our
together
hands.
for a year.
Yeah.
They speak the same language. They have the same way to play CS. And we're still close. It's fine. It's fine, Peter. I swear it's nothing. I know it's normal. I understand, brother. When you don't play good, it's normal. It's nothing. We'll forget. Just look at the big picture and look at around us. Imagine, when I'm really disappointed after a major, I'm always thinking about people doing Olympics. They need 4 years to wait. We have 5 months, 6 months, we have another major.
Yeah.
It's nothing in the life. It's nothing worse. And if we keep working, it's gonna get closer and closer.
Every 5 months.
Exactly. Every 5-6 months. We need to look at the positive today. I know it's hard. They play fucking well as well. We have 1 month.
We have to find our identity. We talked about it, and I think we are on the right track. I know we are. And yeah, we can have these tournaments. And Peter, what we have gone through today, maybe it was you who had a fucking good game on stage. That's just how it is. Sometimes you just have bad tournaments, and that's just life.
It will happen again and again. I'm
But
sorry
I
to say
understand
it.
your disappointment, of course.
Yeah, we understand. I
But
don't blame.
it's not
I don't
just
blame.
you.
Exactly. We don't blame anyone here. We have to be disappointed. If we were not disappointed, it would be a big, weird shit.
We win as a team and we lose
Yeah,
as a team.
we're together, boys. No worries. Imagine if it's not one tournament that's gonna change us. That's gonna change you, Peter. Nothing. You're strong, brother. You showed us from the beginning of the team. You're fucking insane. You were probably the best player in the team for EPL, for Katowice. Just not one tournament that's gonna fuck you up. It's fine.
If I could just say like that this or this was wrong. This is like nothing.
I know. You're 4 major winner, brother. Just I know it's not, but we know, boy, you played bad probably. I didn't see it, but you were strong with us. You didn't give up at all, and that's something I love it. Boy, you were like it was the same if you did 20 bombs. That was the same.
You would never have
Don't be
done
too
that.
hard on yourself because you were a really good teammate there.
On the last team, you would never have done that.
Yeah, you were a really good teammate today.
Yeah, I agree.
And it will happen for everyone. And that's something we need to look at. When we play bad, being a good teammate, having a good attitude. And maybe next tournament is gonna be me that have shit tournament, or Emilian or Kevin. Fuck it. So it is. If we all at our prime, we win. That's how CS is. It didn't happen, it will happen soon. No worries.
I think what I want to say to the players is that they did a really good job. I know it's been some rough months where they have been working really hard. And when you are an athlete and you really want to achieve something and you work extremely hard, it's really devastating not reaching your goals. But I'm super positive with the team. I know we can go really far. This was not the moment, but I'm super proud of their effort and the way that they are working together, always trying to find solutions. And since our loss at EPL in Düsseldorf, I think that we have come a long way already. But unfortunately, we didn't finish. How do you say? We didn't cross the finish line at the end here with losing and not going to the stage, which was the ultimate goal for this major. Since we are a new team, but I'm still proud of their efforts, and I'm sure we will reach our goals in the future.